Those messages are that black men are dangerous because if you look at the news, there have been studies on this.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. How are you doing? I hope you are doing great. So today I bring this gist for you guys. Black community was so happy about this message this white man was giving, except white man was angry why he would say something like this. And a lot of black did teach it, but they were just like listening to it, and everything that he was saying makes sense. But let's dive into it and listen to the message together.
Those messages are that black men are dangerous because if you look at the news, there have been studies on this. Local news overrepresents black folks as perpetrators, overrepresents white folks as victims. So the message that gets sent is they're dangerous, and specifically to you. They are not only bad people, they're going to hurt you. So therefore, we want to keep them on that side of town. We want to keep their children in those schools over there. We don't want to work around them. We don't want to live around them, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that message comes through loud and clear in the way that media represents people of color. You know, whenever we, thinking about Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old child that was shot in Cleveland by police, when that happened, what did they do? The first news story in Cleveland that made a big splash was about Tamir Rice's parents and the history of domestic abuse and criminality among his parents, not about the cop that killed him. We talk worse about black victims than we do white killers. What did we say about Ted Bundy? Oh, he was so smart and he was so quiet and he always seemed so nice. Every time one of these white boys goes and shoots up a school, what do we say? We had no idea he was going to do this. So we talk better. We have more sympathy for white folks who commit mass murder, bury bodies under the house, cook them up in a soup pot and eat them, right? Than we do black folks who were killed by police. We start digging for every bad thing they ever did. We want to know if they had a juvenile record. We want to know if they'd ever been arrested. That's what the media does. And until that changes, I'm afraid white folks will stay in denial, and it'll be very hard for us to move forward, whether we're talking about cops or just average everyday folks.
Americans know that modern policing traces directly to slave patrols. That is the first example of policing in our country. Law enforcement, usually working class guys, set up by rich people to keep other working class black and brown folks in line, right? Sort of similar, isn't it? Because rich folks are never cops, just like rich folks are never soldiers, right? Rich folks get poor people and working class people to do their dirty work for them, right? And so you put some folks on a slave patrol to keep black folks in line. Then later on, it's cops who you have enforce the black codes, which were passed after slavery was abolished, to keep black folks in line. Then it's cops who are the ones enforce segregation to keep black folks in line. It's cops who pull protesters off of stools in the South during the sit-in movement to keep black folks in line. It's cops who enforce the war on drugs, which I beg to remind you is not a war on drugs. And this we know for a couple of reasons. Number one, the data is very clear. White folks use drugs, sell drugs, possess drugs every bit as often as black folks do. Contrary to stereotype, black folks do not use drugs more, they do not deal drugs more, they do not possess drugs more, but they are the ones who get arrested. 4 times as likely to be arrested for weed than white folks, even though use of marijuana is roughly identical between these groups. But we also know that the war on drugs is not about drugs because I'm standing here. I'm going to give you a second to let that catch up with you.
No, this just further validates my point that if the goddamn media would shut the fuck up about the motherfucking racism, there wouldn't be so goddamn much racism anymore. Go watch the video. You'll see what I'm saying. You'll see. They keep bringing up mainstream media. They keep bringing up the news. They keep bringing up TV. It's because they're the one fucking pushing this shit. It's fucking propaganda. Kill your TV. Now that I've said those 3 words, they're probably not going to show this video to anybody, and I'll probably get like 2 or 3 likes. Probably get 15 views.
I want to read something to y'all from a book that I'm reading, and it's called The Voice of the Negro. But when I watch you duet the videos of the Black history and the faces that you make, the proudness that I see, the breaths that you take, it makes me feel good, and I love seeing it, and it makes me want to do it more, because I feel like this is what you need to see and what you have been missing. So I'm going to read this to you, and I'm going to tell you why I believe you've been missing this. First, this is the book, and you can get it on Kindle for $9.99. In this way, a white editor accepts a grave responsibility. He bars the masses of his race from the real thought of a black man. He cuts out the approach to the only bridge that the white masses have to cross to the opinion of black folk that is really worthwhile. In fact, the white newspaper really holds a mandatory over what the white masses shall know about the Negro. And in the handling of this great responsibility, they have erred greatly. If you were to headline the crime of every white man who was a redhead in the daily paper for 6 months, you would have the average citizen walking off the sidewalk, walking around all the redheaded people that they meet. Center on a particular class and say, this redhead man did this, and this redhead woman did that, and in 6 months, you will have it in all the minds of the average person that the redheaded people are vile and corrupt creatures. In the press of America, all that the Negro gets is headlines for his faults. Big burly black brute does this and huge black Negro fiend does that. This is the advertisement and the only sort of introduction that the Negro Daily gets to white masses. The slightest offense or infraction of the law is sufficient to put the black man on the front page. The Negro's real heart and virtue rarely ever is exposed to America. We have a right to proper representation before the bar of public opinion, but we have not had it. If this conference work of Governor Robertson is carried through to the point where it ought to be, there will come a change that will lift the black man in the estimation of those who do not know that we are at least human. The Black Dispatch, Oklahoma City, October 10th. This book is filled with the thoughts of these editors and how they felt after the race riots in Washington in 1919. Each one of them either started a newspaper or worked on one to change the way America portrayed the black person. And I think we're still missing that, and I think it's time to change the front page.
You're a billionaire, and they are your employees. The imbalance of power is extreme, and that is why people want to come together to form a union.
The last thing you said, and it's been said many times by the chairman, I just want to make a point of that. This monarch of billionaire, let's just get at that, okay? I grew up in federally subsidized housing. Let me finish. I grew up in federally subsidized housing. My parents never owned a home. I came from nothing. I thought my entire life was based on the achievement of the American dream. Yes, I have billions of dollars. I earned it. No one gave it to me. And I've shared it constantly with the people of Starbucks. And so anyone who keeps labeling this billionaire thing, it's
Mr. Shelton, I don't mean to cut you off. We have time limits here, and you have the opportunity. I'm not cutting you off.
It's your moniker constantly. It's unfair.
No, it is not. You have had more time. I've been generous with the time. I'm sorry.
But, Mr. Chairman.
We have a room full of people. We have a panel to go after you. You're not the only person testifying.
Okay.
Senator Cassidy.
This week's episode of Billionaires or Sociopaths, here's the founder of Starbucks waxing poetically about how he came from nothing and earned every penny that he has, as though anyone's saying that they want to take the money away from him. Let's fucking stop with that, okay? No one is telling rich people that they can't be rich. But no one is asking the founder of Starbucks to buy every single employee of Starbucks a Lamborghini. This is about unionizing. And this guy is talking about how he grew up in federally subsidized housing, dirt poor, okay? That he earned every penny that he has made. That he doesn't appreciate using the moniker billionaire in him over and over and over again like it's a dirty word. Well, maybe what's fucked up is that you came from utter poverty and can't see the value of people unionizing so that they can make more money and earn a decent living, or God forbid, earn a livable wage. Cry me a fucking river of $20 bills, billionaire, again. Yes, I'm gonna use that moniker. That's the thing with people who get this rich. They become psychotic. All they can think about is money, more money, more money. They're shareholders. They need more money. The shareholders need more money. Every year you have to make a little bit more money than the last year, or you're taking a loss. Is your business growing? Is your business growing? Let's just keep making more money to no end and for no reason except that it's a sickness that all we want is more money at any cost, while treating the people who help you get there and run your business like shit. Not letting people who work for you unionize is illegal, and this guy is trying to turn it around and gaslight Congress into basically saying how dare they act like being rich is some sort of dirty word. But what sort of fucking sociopath grows up that poor and does not want better for people who are in those positions or could be close to those positions? What sort of a person does that? Wealth fucks people up. Making that much money just begets needing to make more money. There's no end to it. It's a condition. It's an addiction. The audacity of these people who own these corporations. Do you know that everyone at Starbucks should just have health insurance? That's something that they should just have. And guess what corporations like Starbucks prevent the government from doing? Giving people health insurance, but then they refuse to give people health insurance. People who work at Starbucks should be able to get an education if they want one, but guess what Starbucks doesn't want? To give them the money to get an education, but then large corporations prevent the government from allowing people to get free education. So what the fuck do they want? The only dirty word in all of these conversations is the way in which capitalism fucks people up. This guy came from nothing and he still can't understand the reason why having $1 billion company might mean that he pays people more and treats them with humanity. Because once you get rich in this country, one of the big promises that is assured to you is that you never have to care about another person.
Berkeley psychology professor Paul Piff ran a study with a rigged Monopoly game. The game was a simple, straightforward head-to-head game, but one player would start with twice as much money, collect twice as much money when they passed go, and also roll twice as many dice. Of course, that player usually won. Where it gets interesting, though, is that the player who started with all the advantages was twice as likely to attribute the outcome to their personal skill, their decision-making, their strategy. The player who started poor understood that the game was rigged. The one who started rich did not. And I can almost forgive that because we want to think that good things happen to us because of something that we have done, that we have earned it in some way, right? The thing is, those rich players also thought that the poor player had lost because they had made the wrong decisions, that their failure was a reflection on them personally. And all of this is consistent with the literature that we have on how rich people think. It is in sociology, in social theory, we often talk about privilege in terms of unearned advantages. And we do this in order to stress that you don't deserve the benefits that you've accrued from privilege. You're not entitled to them. Because you don't deserve them, you are ethically obligated to pay it forward. You may not be able to give away that privilege, but you can use it to create opportunities for other people, to accommodate others, build alliances with them, and change the conversation just ever so slightly. What you can't do is start believing that you deserve it, that ever has it been and so ever will it be. You might only be talking about pretty privilege today. You might be talking about a different kind of privilege tomorrow.
Please don't forget to leave your opinion down below what you think, and don't forget to subscribe, turn on notification. Anytime I upload, you will be notified. Stay blessed and bye-bye.